guarantee for us then, Matthew? Because we have a chance here for you to make a pretty bold prediction about what you expect to see here. You've been kind of on point with those so far. So tell me what you should expect to see in this matchup between the Toronto Defiant and the Los Angeles. I'm going to pull my...
This series is tough. This series is really tough to predict. Because I think you look at the Gladiators and you look at their roster as a whole, the addition of Happy, you know, the success they've had in the season thus far, and you're like, how do you pick against them, right?
Yes.
But if you're just basing it off of like what we've seen recently, although it's against very good teams, that they haven't been able to produce wins, and like you're 2-1 if you're the Defiant, but like you're kind of like in like do or die territory, right? With being able to qualify for your event, like this is a massive game for them. Where I think map 1 is going to tell you a lot, right? Like what type of energy do the Gladiators come out with? Like what do we see from the Toronto Defiant? Pretty normal roster here for the Toronto Defiant. They've been playing this for a very long time now with these players in. Hisu, we saw a lot of the Ashe play the other day in the series. I believe that was Jaws and I casted. Wonder if we see them go towards the Sojourn.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty interesting actually to see Hisu play more Ashe, because after week 1, coming into week 16 rather, he was like #1 in railgun kills, and final blows he was like 3rd place. So was really showing that on both of those heroes he can have a huge impact. This team, I mean, we made the jokes about obviously trying to qualify for your own event, but this team looks pretty well positioned here to actually start to make a resurgence here after sort of floating around the middle of the pack for much of the season. Their opponents though are, I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this. They're fighting for any chance to be present in Toronto. The Gladiators, despite having had the upgrade of a lifetime to this roster, just like I'm astral projecting looking at this bloody lineup, but they are coming into this match at 0-3 so far in the Summer Showdown.
And I imagine there were lots of teams that were really interested in Happy, right? This team, they have Padapan, they have Happy, they have Kevster, they have Ons, like absolutely loaded. In the damage dealer role. They must have felt like Happy though is worth it, right? I mean, that is a pretty loaded core of like hit scan players here for the Gladiators, and to see him come in and play a ton and obviously have some success, it's got to be scary for other teams, right? Because although the Gladiators may be like stumbling now, right? You don't expect this to be something that goes on for the remainder of the year. I think the overall team and just the coaching is just like too talented for that to happen, probably, quite frankly. That if you're Toronto, this is the time to strike, right? No, the Gladiators are as down as they could be, right? Like, this is where you need to take advantage. I mean, typically don't say kick them while they're down, but if you're Toronto, you need to win.
I mean, you need
like
wins.
They're down.
You don't really care what
yeah, you don't
on the
care.
other side of the screen.
Nah.
I would all point out, also, the Gladiators tried a couple new things this stage, extending to, of course, and including Shu at DPS. So, an opportunity for the Glads who've had a pretty solid overall season. This is a team that just turns up at LAN and just wins everything. So, don't be too sort of disillusioned seeing 10-5 for their overall record, as those losses come against extremely quality teams. And again, more than half of those in that last week or so of play. The Gladiators here definitely need to show us something in this match if they have any designs on being present at the Summer Showdown and continuing the period of dominance at offline events so far this year. And again, last time these two went head-to-head, it was back in week 9, a pretty convincing Gladiators win here. It's a lineup to dream of, Matt.
What's crazy is like, they haven't looked good in this tournament, but if they made the Summer Showdown and qualified, like, they'd be one of the scariest teams in the field, right? like at an in-person event, like this is a team you do not want to run up against, regardless. So Hisu actually was hovering over the Ashe, has switched to the Widow now. We'll see what they actually decide to run here for the Defiant. I think that'll be a big thing throughout the series, and it looks like the Ashe thus far. So in the series against Dallas, Mitch, the Ashe was not effective here on this map. Well, it was Busan, but it was not effective on control. Maybe a little bit more effective here with some of the longer sightlines. It was pretty effective though on Midtown. We'll see if that map's in the pool, but Hisu's going to have to pop off, be a big difference maker. I think the dynamites have to be huge here.
Creating heal pressure with those dynamites is pretty crucial here outside of burst healing. It's not really available here. Hisu does well though, finds Happy. although it's brought down, so the mobility advantage rests right now with the Gladiators as Kevster may well be unchecked as he tries to pressure across the map. Hisu keeps him honest there with a glancing hit, but the Gladiators look to try and get more aggressive playing that left-hand side, and Hotbar's going lower and lower.
Yes, Hoppa's going to use the shout, but doesn't give himself enough health to go up and fight, and doesn't get Twilight in a position to do so, but they get a few players weak. Funny Astro is weak for a while, and all those going to go right through him. Now they're going to try and get skewed out of the way.
A big part of that was their dynamite that connected care of Hisu. It's actually really frustrating. You can throw a repair pack into it, but the ticking damage is really quite frustrating to deal with.
Point.
Yep, what about it, Matt? What about it?
It gave up a few extra % there. Maybe just trying to have everybody chase a kill, but I think the Ashe is really effective, Mitch, if you can land those dynamites and if you can keep that range consistently. But if you're not making them pay with the lack of like just kind of like bursts, like really high impact healing straight away with those dynamites, it's tough to really make it work.
So far though, Hisu getting value. Trying to play across the map as much as possible there, and Kevster's trying to keep tabs again on that Ashe. Not in a position to push up though, even disruptor shot thrown out by Happy to dissuade any further advancement from the Defiant.
It's a really early rally too from the Defiant. I mean, they rally, they get up there, and nothing happens.
Dangerous now because guess who's got the rally skewed? Comes in with his, and Chorong has to send the beat out now, and it gives the Defiant enough of a buffer to find a kill on Happy, but Funny Astro's going to be able to pop his beat a little bit later in the fight. And the Defiant are still not at full strength, and they're unlikely to be for the remainder of this engagement here as Kevster finally decides to dive in. Chorong hard pressed to get away alive here. Kevster will not give up the chase.
It's still a pretty good start, though, for the Toronto Defiant. I didn't really love the rally usage there. They didn't really get much out of it. Maybe they thought that they could use the rally, get in a position to get a kill and stop the Gladiators from advancing at the start, but that doesn't happen at all. Allows the Gladiators to be pretty free in their support ultimate usage as they get closer to the point. Here's a great opportunity, though, for the Defiant. Can you use the Bob effectively, right? Maybe like just kind of like take an angle, like a little bit of an off angle for some damage. Be the rampage from Hoppa that comes in, and that doesn't connect with anybody, it looks like.
Yeah, Happy and Funny Astro get hit by it. Skewed doesn't, but Chorong sends him off the map anyway, so somehow he finds a kill, or otherwise he shouldn't have had it. Nice environmental there, but Kevster's able to respond, although he's down. But the Glads are not in control of the point here. So they're Defiant in a position to continue to grow that lead. Reiner takes a huge amount of damage because he's stationary at the start of the animation from Rampage. He still connects it well enough, and Happy now, with this overclock, is really applying the pressure. But the Glads need to get the point flip. They need to get rid of Hotbar here. They need to start setting up a win condition.
Yeah, the Rampages, I think, from both sides have left a lot to be desired. And Toronto is doing a nice job of extending this, right? You're going to get up to final fight territory for them. The Gladiators pretty costly to make that happen. Where now Toronto, they'll come in, they'll have this rally, and they'll have Blade. It's an awesome combination to use together to be able to break this setup.
Although we'll be able to play that much more aggressively with that extra ticking heal during the fight. Kevster's not too far away from his either, and Funny Astro will have a response, so I'm interested to see how the sequencing of those key ultimates plays out in the next few moments. Defiant, they win here, they win the round, almost guaranteed. Early pressure here.
Get the rally now.
Although takes a big hit from a railgun, it's time to go. That's the rally, although looking for his entry point here. Realizes that he doesn't need it. In fact, the rally's enough to force the Gladiators back now, so Los Angeles suffer no casualties. The Defiant want to dig a little bit deeper though, and here they go after Happy. Great sound barrier from Funny Astro. He chases after Happy to make sure that he gets that overshield. Kevster can't quite get purchase on Twilight there. It would have been an elimination if he could get a little closer. But the Glads now use that rally to try and approach. They've got both those support ultimates down. Here's a commanding shout from Hotbar. It's the Defiant try and end it here.
Yeah, and Bob is going to be coming online here shortly for the Defiant, and they're going to lose Reiner. That's huge pick off there for the Defiant, but can Happy bring it back?
Hisu trying to deal with all this pressure that Kevster's applying, but he leaves the point. Turns out, so do the rest of the Gladiators in that moment. Nicely done by the Defiant here, looking just a little better in that round.
Yeah, and the fight doesn't kick off the way the Defiant want to. I actually thought the Gladiators played it quite well because when Twilight uses the rally, they're trying to force Funny Astro to use a beat in that position and then Blade, right? But they use the rally, and the Gladiators are smart enough to, they're willing to give up the point and not use that sound barrier straight away. And then they have it for the Blade. So the Blade wasn't super effective, but man, Charong, nice boop here off the map of Skewed. And then that early pick on Orion there towards the end. Gonna put everything away for the Defiant there. So big round 1 for Toronto. Can you play the Ashe here, though? I mean, this is gonna be tough. Ruins, long sight lines, right? Like, you know, even metas where you don't see Widow often, you can see Widow there. This feels like way more in Sojourn's effective range, this map.
I mean, maybe for railguns, but you can definitely, if you're playing defensively, play from the high ground, that left-hand side where Hisu is there, you can throw Dynamite to the point pretty easily. So you can get value there if you Dynamite first and then step up to try and get a better sight line. Hotba has to use Commanding Shout there. There's just a lot of utility being thrown his way. And so the Defiant actually have to give up this sort of pole position. Yeah, that step back. Funny Astro, though. Bit of an overextension.
He was low. Funny Astro actually, he doesn't actually push forward there. He was on the backside of the pole, and I don't know if Hisu even saw him, but Hisu connected with the Dynamite onto him, and then Funny Astro took a little bit of damage. He was so low. And they don't have Inspire rolling there, so he just ends up just taking
burns down.
Wayward shot.
Okay.
Yeah, he just takes a wayward shot there from Hotba, which, because it's interesting. Could you probably keep Funny Astro alive? Probably, but are you going to have to, what, use 2 repair packs, right? Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying, that the heal pressure
the best
created.
value out of that? Yeah.
No, it's awful value. Especially if you're not in a position, if like you're in like a neutral at range, you can't get Inspire procs outside of Whip Shot.
Right. And are you forced to like use like more of like you know, the Lucio Aura for healing, right? And, you know, amp that. Ideally, you'd like to use the speed.
Or if there's a situation where your team's forced to use a shout just to keep you alive as well. There's a ton of ways in which hitting a Dynamite is just really punishing.
He's just still rocking the fusion spray.
Yep. Love to see
Maybe update that.
The Defiant looking really comfortable here. Again, if you give the Ashe enough space, she can be a real problem. Rally here for Skewed now. Twilight gets his just in time.
It's been a really odd start to this point. Like, outside of the kill on a Funny Astro, and obviously some of the kills that probably happen right now, like, for a very long time, there's, like, really, like, nothing going on, right? Like, no team's able to find any kills. There's, this has really been all Defiant here on our second point. You're gonna have this next fight kick off, like 75%, 80% on the point. Gladiators with some ultimates here to be able to use to take this back, but even if the Gladiators invest here, right, Mitch, and take this back, you're still looking at a huge advantage for the Defiant in the overall map. Like, easily could take Lighthouse and find themselves up 1-0 in the series.
Although has quietly been putting in a huge performance. Happy has to find that kill to start this fight up and put his team on the front foot at the very least. And yet the Gladiators still decide to go for the sound barrier on top just for insurance. And sure enough, Happy will find the mark and the Gladiators will get in control. But 94 plays 4 here as the Defiant have been all over the scoreboard, the right side of it at the very least, i.e. the correct side, not the actual right side, because that would be bad for them, for the whole round so far.
You don't build up really any significant ultimate charge on your supports, which is a little bit worrying there for the Defiant, but maybe you come back with a big Rampage, right? They don't have a Rally, they don't have Sound Barrier to go with this, or you know, a Rampage available for Reiner. Maybe if your Rampage can force out theirs and the Blade, you're okay with that, right? And you come back in another fight, and that's the fight you really game plan to win. Thing for the Defiant is they can't just stand around and waste this time. They have to kind of have an idea of what you're going to do here with the ultimate economy.
Reiner hit by that Rampage, but crucially, Skewed is too. Reiner holds onto that ultimate here as he knows the Gladiators need to win a few consecutive fights, and Kessler eventually is going to get brought down here. Dangerous for the Gladiators now. It's going to be a Rampage user. That might have been just from Reiner to try and stay on the point. He got booped off, and that might have been the end of him. So he has to ult there. Funny Astro looking dangerous here as well, just trying to play around the point and, again, create some environmental kill pressure as Hotba goes so low. Good timing, though, here from Twilight. He comes straight on in with a shield bash, announces his entry. But Kevster gets rid of Hisu's teammate before he has a chance to really intervene. It's a Bob in neutral position out in the courtyard. He sends over towards the point. And that's going to be enough to bring Funny Astro down. A very good look for the Toronto Defiant is clearly the Glads are still looking for answers in this metagame.
Yeah, they do not seem comfortable playing this right now. Toronto looked fantastic there in map number 1. They make the Ashe work, Bob there, you know, taking some off angles. Not a lot of, I think Bob is best used in situations like that, right? Where you're in these fights where they're, you know, a little bit more drawn out, you're exchanging these kills, and there's not enough damage from the Gladiators to just burn him down really fast. He has to just kind of exist and provides a little bit of that crossfire.
Good look for the Defiant. It's been said a few times already. This meta's all about coordination, and the Defiant seem to be in lockstep with one another. The Gladiators here again, they're fighting for their chance, even just the chance to be in Toronto live. Let's see if they can dig a little deeper after this. you might know I did the whole palaver to try and get my visa sorted. For this reason, because the Overwatch League, we're coming to Toronto. The Defiant are hosting Canada's first ever Overwatch League tournament presented by Bell at Mattamy Athletic Centre, September 8th to 11th. Experience esports live and come join the party featuring a fan activation zone and Overwatch 2 free play. Matthew would have you think that I was on holiday. That is not true. That was determined to be a lie. But I got my visa and I'm ready to catch you guys.
Just like you welcome me back after you've been gone for like a month.
Yeah,
oh, hey,
I mean,
welcome back.
why'd you go for a a month?
I wasn't gone anywhere. I was here.
I've been around.
You weren't.
No, you know how to whistle, don't you?
I see that tan. You don't get that from sitting inside. Down there at the beach.
I resent that. That is my daddy pushing the stroller tan every morning out here in Southern California. I had that before I left. Thank you very much. The Gladiators, though, not a great start for them here. Wanted to make a mention about tans, but those don't really seem to be present here. Fair enough. So we'll move on. Look, not a great map for them on Ilios. They looked a little uncomfortable. Like, it's a dream lineup. A dream lineup that doesn't really kind of know how they want to play this metagame.
It's just way different. It's way different than anything we've seen so far. In the season. This Overwatch 2. Like, not an overall. Not an overall.
Thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I had what is it? The stick from Men in Black where they just erase your memory. Came and visited all of the talent. We're like, everybody look at the light, and boom. We've seen it in the past, but I think it also just plays slightly different now. And I also think obviously with the inclusion of like different heroes and the amount of healing available, being that like you can't just play the like 3 supports, right? It's the same concepts. I feel like it's definitely plays a little bit different, and I think just the Gladiators like haven't grasped it this far.
Yeah, again, they've got. I mean, if you look at pound for pound or players in the right roles, you think the Gladiators are absolutely fine here.
Yeah, it's also not time to panic. I think if you're the Gladiators, like obviously you want to qualify for this event, you want to make it. But also, like, in the grand scheme of things, right, that you've had a fantastic season this far. You have, like, arguably, like, one of the most talented rosters top to bottom in the league. Yep. You've got a ton of league points because you played well at those events. Obviously. It's not like a oh my god, the ship is sinking type.
And I mean,
right?
they also know now that, like, this metagame isn't going to persist all year. Like, we've already heard Aaron and Keller sort of say, hey, we've sort of noticed that Drunken Queen's really strong. We're going to make some changes. So, not doom and gloom here, but what a great opener. Getting rid of although so early here is just huge.
Yeah, let's see, though, how the Ashe makes an impact here. That's a big dynamite is. This is actually the map that when Toronto played against Dallas, this is the one that they actually kind of forced them to match that Ashe on, as he was so effective.
See the Defiant try and make their way out of the Firefighters precinct there. It's funny, Astrid gets picked off. Soil, though, comes back and really makes his mark pretty early on here. But losing Hot Button, not a great sign. Especially with Twilight getting hit by that Carnage there. Ryan are going to get topped up as a result of that heal coming his way. And the Gladiators, good start here. Again, look,
much better.
This next part of the map can be tough for attackers, right? If the defenders are comfortable setting their pace. Something we saw from Dallas earlier on today, actually. They were very, very good at just sort of diving off this high ground and applying pressure to the attackers, constantly trying to play a spawn camp style. So the Gladiators try and push ahead of where that battle line would be drawn, get some early poke, and let's see what the Defiant do here to put the pressure on.
Yeah, the Defiant want to probably try and play from this angle here, get Hisu set up on the high ground, and let him just kind of rain over the fight down with some damage. Really relying on him to pop off, though.
They're definitely looking for some real production, especially some dynamite connection would be pretty big. It's annoying for Hisu not being able to get close because of that disruptor shot in play, and Hopper somehow gets carved literally and figuratively away from the rest of his roster. Unclear how he ended up down there, Matt, but it's not a good look.
I think he went in to just contest the payload, and nobody was there with him. It looked like maybe that Kevster had dove in to try and put some pressure onto Hisu, and they had a disruptor shot going in there, and man, this is all Gladiators right now.
Forget about this if you're the Defiant. Not good. Hotboy going to be under a lot of pressure here. He and Twilight will try and stall for as long as they can, but the Gladiators get one of the hardest parts of the map for attackers to play. It's a very good sign for them here as they move into this next phase of the map with 5:25.
This is where, like, Dallas had success when playing against the Ashe, when they just got right up in Hisu's face.
Yeah.
Because there is so much speed with this composition that you're able to do that with relative ease, especially with, like, the Sojourn and the Genji can get right in. Now, do I think is like the speed what makes this like composition like extremely strong? Like, I think it's one part of it. I think it's, you know, I think the Jungle Queen being able to give that instant heal really kind of allows and enables a lot of kind of what you see. But, you know, using that speed with the Sojourn and the Genji to get in position, I mean, that is a sick shot right there. As the Gladiators seem to just flip a switch here between map number 1 and 2.
And that's something that Ashe just cannot do either. That one-shot potential makes a huge difference. If you didn't catch the Atlanta Reign game earlier on, I recommend you go back and check that out to see just how deadly a Sojourn firing on all cylinders can be. It's almost impossible to hold them back. So the Gladiators here again only lost a minute fighting around that last corner. This is a very expedient display from this Glads roster now with the Dragon Blade, the sound barrier up their sleeve here. They've got everything they need to end the round here and now. Twilight switches to the Ana, Matthew.
Not a lot of defense here from the Defiants. What, you're looking for a bio grenade at this point?
A blade on the Genji? I mean, that's just speculative at best. Okay, so the Glads do back out here. They lose Funny Astro. There was a sound barrier that was forced, and Kevster and Co looked like they were happy enough just forcing that key ultimate out of the hands of Chorong.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, they use the Bob as well, right? Which is a huge issue for them towards the end of this map. Rampage, double support ult with an overclock. I think that's good enough for the Gladiators to win it here.
So they disengage, lose Funny Astro in the process, but nothing more than that. Skewed, gonna go for the rally. He's right now hit with some anti-heal, but Kevster finds Twilight. They got rid of the immobile Ana, who's responsible for most of the healing here, and very quickly the Defiance strat is unraveled. And the Gladiator, that is not a C9. That is, all right.
Nope, that would not be a C9. They kind of just rolled them. There wasn't really even a ton to talk about from the Defiance defense because they just didn't really play any. I mean, just kind of bulldozed. So,
well,
I think, what are you looking at here for Toronto, right? Like, hey, guys, we got to complete the map. No, even if it's with not as much time, and then completely reassess what we do on the defensive side of things, probably, right? I mean, that's best case scenario here.
Well, I think it's a matter of answering the Ashe pressure, I think. Although it was the first kill on point A, and that actually had nothing, I don't know if it had much to do with Happy on Ashe there. We just sort of see him getting caught out. He actually might have eaten a knife from Reiner. It's a death sentence for Genji if he gets yanked back by Gracie into the entirety of an enemy lineup. So, again, manufacturing that first pick, though, is so important. And if you're playing Ashe, that's a little harder to do. You can apply wholesale pressure via that dynamite and you know, make it easier for your Genji to jump in and actually secure kills. But in terms of like finding a first pick, you need to consistently, you know, double headshot or hit a huge shot and just start nailing that one target. Usually, good Briggs will have a chance to throw a repair pack out. Now, if we get the Ana out of the gates here for the Defiant, I have to know sort of what Twilight's been trying for, because we saw him play that Ana as well in that previous round.
Well, let's see. No, it's not going to be something, it just seemed like a little bit of a desperation effort towards the end, right? Maybe hit a big bio grenade, give your team an opportunity to win. You're really relying on Hisu to, one, for your team to be able to give him the space, and two, for him to be able to knock down these shots with those dynamites consistently. It did not happen that first round. Are we trying to be sneaky here? Is that kind of the play?
Surely no. Kevster's keeping tabs on them on that right-hand side. Yeah. See, look, I mean, if Happy's playing against a Sojourn there, he might already be dead. He takes about half his health in damage and then has to sort of run back behind the fire truck. Kevster doesn't lose those. He just doesn't lose those, man. Shout comes out for the Gladiators, and that's enough to send the Defiant packing.
It's also, I mean, Toronto really obviously has to believe that this is like the better of the strategies, because like Hisu's pretty good on the Sojourn as well. It's not like I feel like you play this composition because, yeah, I feel like you don't play this composition because you don't really, he just gets headshot walking across the street. You don't play this composition because you don't think that like Hisu can play the Sojourn at this type of level, because he most certainly can. You have to believe there's some inherent advantage by playing this way.
Yes. Again, it might have a bit to do with Bob as well. Just, you know, again, against the low healing comp, or like a low healing throughput composition, Bob is much deadlier. Still though, okay, so Kevster gets picked off as the Gladiators try and go aggressive on defense there, and Happy doesn't escape. Chorong chases him down. So the Gladiators are hoping to group up here. They'll have 4, and they probably have 4 right now. They're going to have to wait for Happy to come back in. This is doable indeed. The question is how much they want to invest in this, because they don't have key ultimates online.
I don't think you come back and challenge this if you're Glads, no. Okay. Yeah, I think you just have such a huge time bank. There's no reason to just kind of go in there and give the Defiant an opportunity to steamroll through the second part of the map. You just kind of want to like bleed them out slow, right? It's kind of the plan here for the Glads, I think.
The Gladiators are playing much further forward than the Defiant did on their defense on this map here. You can see Glads want to try and get a quasi-spawn camp scenario here. As that gate shuts, it's actually a pretty difficult part of the map for attackers to push through. We even saw that in like the Winston meta. It was really difficult when you constantly get dived by the defenders. Kevster has to sort of back away there, takes a ton of damage and gets hit by a dynamite if I'm not mistaken, but Hopper feeling the heat himself a little bit right now. Here's the overclock. This is coming from Happy.
Dynamite damage is big though. He starts to get a few ticks of that damage, and then although it goes right through him, maybe the Defiant, I mean, this would be huge, Mitch. If Defiant can start to get this going, right, and not use any of these ultimates, go into like a final fight here on the second checkpoint, 5 ults, you can start making you're not going to make up this entire time. You're going to make up a good chunk of it though.
Sound barrier didn't save Scoot's life. Somehow Funny Astro wasn't able to get that off in time. Nice job by Although. He finds that kill, and now the sound barrier for Chorong is applied to 5 individuals, and the Bob is getting pushed along here. Normally Bob is obviously stationary, but little trick there as the cart is able to keep moving him forward, making sure you get extra value out of him. And Kevster's brought down. Can't do much about Twilight here. The Gladiators have to try and do this with 4 and a rally, but the Rampage hits all of them. And that Brig ult is completely shut down. The Defiant here finding some bite to back up the bark.
Yeah, really good fights there for the Defiant. I think the bad thing is, though, is that they had to like expend all of their ultimates to do it, right? You'll have a Rampage coming online here soon for the Gladiators. The Gladiators just have that end of the map to play back against, right? They know that they're going to have a better time bank than the Defiant, no matter what, right? Where the Gladiators kind of got what they wanted in some aspects. They made it costly, but wanted to probably drag that out a little bit longer.
Yeah, but if the Gladiators are going to make this convincing, they probably need to really start applying the pressure now defensively. Don't really want to get slowly picked off and just pushed back into their spawn here.
They get Funny Astro though. This is going to allow them to get this payload around the corner. That's going to be the Rampage. It only connects with 2.
Yeah, but my god, 90 damage for a direct hit from that Carnage. You see Rhino just blew Twilight up there instantly. That's not even counting like the 40 ticking, I think, after the fact. So very scary if that enemy JQ gets up in your face. Good way to answer the pick here, and a good way for the Gladiators now to make this costlier. Again, this is part of the conversation about playing on escort maps, is to make it expensive. Levy hefty tolls for attackers to try and advance through the map here. And, well, the Gladiators don't have many opportunities to do that. It has to start now.
So see what Defiant try and do. Hisu up here on the high ground, probably just looking for a dynamite angle here. So he sees 2 players. Oh, going to use it a little bit of like more defensively, right? Yeah.
Still, Glads don't seem too bothered by it. Skew's also getting value from Inspire there as they're playing that low left room. Hisu will need to top himself up there. Happy he's under a lot of pressure right now, and Rhino couldn't get away. Rally in play right now for Twilight as he sends his cohort forth. The Gladiators here are quite often trying to disengage after losing a play, but they're not going to be given the option here as Rhino Shout won't be able to carry them to safety. Funny Astro get brought down as well.
Window of opportunity here for the Defiant. Sound Barrier plus Blade coming up versus that Rally on the other side of things. Looks like they're going to have to wait, though, although coming off spawn.
The Defiant respect this, actually. So they back away and say, all right, well, we know they have to have at least 1 support ultimate, maybe 2 up here. So you have to be somewhat strategic about how you force the Gladiators to part with those abilities right now. Okay, commanding Shout. Little yank in there by Rhino. He's not too bothered. There was blades come out from both sides, and Funny Astro doesn't quite have the beat available. If he holds onto it, this is huge. And yes, he's not being forced to use it. What a boon for the Gladiators to be able to carry that Lucio ultimate into the next fight. This is how you bleed him out, as Matt put it.
Yeah, and what are you going to do now? I mean, it's going to be Happy using the overclock. You're going to have your sound barrier here as the Gladiators all systems go. Haven't found any kills. Toronto able to back out, but See if Hotba, he's going to connect with 2 and then a Bob to follow up.
Hopper's getting healed so much from the tick damage that he caused there, and he's just able to find 2. Headshot on Happy, and he actually really making a big impact here in the final moments. The Defiant, yes, they'll be under 90 seconds, but they'll get the map done. And it is a bit of a discrepancy, I guess, or a deficit to fight back from here, but some good looks from Toronto, where the Gladiators were threatening to sort of put on quite a stall at the end of that map and really ration and stretch those defensive ultimates out.
Toronto played that pretty well there towards the end. Able to come out on top in a few of those key fights. I thought the Bob usage was good there. It was like a Bob plus a Dynamite. Did a ton of damage to some players. Really, so we'll see what happens on their offense here. Like, ideally, you at least unlock the payload, right, and get it a little bit through the gate. They're going to have to kind of go back to the drawing board potentially on defense, right? Or maybe you just chalk it up to like, hey, like we just started off terribly. Their defense was not competitive with giving up 327. But even with saying that, still an opportunity to steal Midtown.
It's on the table, there's no doubt about it. Although, I think it was the Genji that got picked off a little earlier when the Gladiators were able to make their way on the attacking side here. So if the Defiant can force an error, I think waiting for an unforced error from the Gladiators is a big mistake. You are going to have to create your own circumstance, create your own luck here and create the circumstances to actually find that key first elimination. Make it a 5v4 here. We'll see out of the gates Widow for Hisu. Very unlikely you find a pick here and back over to the Ash.
It's kind of been this story. The Defiant committing to the Ash versus the Sojourn. So, Happy takes a few shots, gets quite low. Maybe force him out of line of sight. Maybe this is an opportunity to go.
Yeah, look at me. Happy has been half health for quite a while. It takes ages to get him the attention he needs. I think Skew's probably burned through a lot of his repair packs. As those first salvos came through, what a deflect! What a headshot coming out from Kevster there on Hisu, and now Toronto get declawed. Now Kevster gets to play a bit more aggressively. Attention turns towards Hotbar, but Funny Astro, perhaps it's a little bit ahead of himself there, as Kevster can't do too much to force Hopper to look elsewhere.
And everybody's healthy for the Defiant. They end up using the commanding shout. They push in, Skewed gets so low, and now you're going to lose Reiner. Yeah, you just see the health bars trickling down, and with kind of like where you have to dedicate resources in certain situations, right? You can just tell that Reiner was not going to get the healing necessary there to keep himself up, as even though the Gladiators get first pick, they're going to lose the fight.
Yeah, pretty astounding that that's actually how the fight unfolds. This seems like a great meta for Chorong to actually show what he's capable of, especially when it comes to, responding to pick opportunities like that there. And Funny Astro maybe just got on the wrong side of Hotbar. We thought Kevster was chasing Hotbar. In reality, he was trying to get his attention to prevent him from taking his Lucio out of the picture. Key ultimates, no real ones on the horizon here, so going to be a dry fight either way. Again, a pick from Happy would be huge as a pressure relief valve.
They almost need it. Kind of feel the momentum shifting a little bit here towards the Defiant, possibly.
No shout for the Defiant. That's been used by Hotbar, and he gets nothing, although takes a rail hit. Not enough to claim him, though. Definitely enough to put the fear of God in him. Happy, God, I mean, they're interchangeable, I guess. Skewed has a rally here, gets it off just in time now. Happy needs to be kept alive, and Kevster has a blade. Although, Soundberry going to come out there as well from Chorong. Timing from the Lucio, and again, there's much more work to be done for the Defiant. Both Genji's getting a blade kill, but Kevster's the one that's out of the picture here. Happy able to bring all though down. Here comes a rampage from Hotbar. Good connection on Reiner, but Funny Astro seems to be avoiding scrutiny for the most part now. And Happy's going to get that ultimate online. He's looking anything but as Happy makes it two. Funny Astro seals that one away, but the Gladiators put the Defiant to a halt.
Not terrible for the Defiant, though. Look, you come on defense here, right? 327. The Gladiators just ran you over pretty much the entire offense the last time. An opportunity to change that here. You get a pick or two at the start, right? You kind of drag some of this clock down. That cart's in a position that I think favors the offense, but still, you get in a position where you fight at the door, you fight on that corner, you have the high ground there for the Ash, and like maybe you're an OT, maybe you can make something work out of it. Not all hope is lost here for the Defiant.
Imeta's gone. the Gladiators were especially scary on maps like this because it was Patapan who would just find these first picks, right? Didn't really matter what hero he was on. So quite often the Sojourn was where he caused many problems. Happy, obviously, you think steps into that role pretty comfortably. And will be called upon by the Gladiators here to try and manufacture an opportunity just like that. We'll see the Defiant how they play around this. Again, Hisu's pretty important because he'll want to spend a lot of time sort of peeking out and playing in the open to get value. Ash needs consecutive shots. She needs to be able to also shoot the dynamite that she throws, so that leaves her out in the open for a little while. That's where you're vulnerable to someone like Happy picking you off.
So we'll see now where Hisu decides to play. Maybe just kind of like peeking around that fire truck there. So I think, you know, I think you'll really know, like, you know, one fight in how this is going to go, right? I think they either see the Gladiators kind of steamroll here, unlock this checkpoint, and then just win it, or Toronto is going to draw this out, put up a much better fight.
Great connection so far from Hisu, Matt. He is keeping the Gladiators honest as they try and advance. As evidenced by the ticking sound from the dynamite damage. Kevs is low, very low. Catch a stray and he's done, but there it is. The inevitability. Happy going to be able to connect that railgun. Hotpot brought down there as well. The whip shot connecting, and this is looking pretty bad for the Dorado Defiant now, as although dash only takes him so far. Happy able to evade the Genji. And the Glads have this point A.
Do you try and fight this one more time if you're the Defiant? I think it looks like maybe you'd have to consider it. We know where the first checkpoint is, but it looks like they're just going to back out. They're going to completely regroup.
I mean, if any of them die after that point is taken, it's pretty punishing for the walk back, considering you know, the car.
It does take a little bit, though, for this door to open and whatnot. Yeah, you possibly would have gotten another fight.
I need you, Gracie.
I just don't know if you took enough time off the clock and did enough there to really give yourself a chance here.
I mean, either way, the Defiant will be forced to run into the Gladiators. As Reiner will use line of sight blocking there behind the cart to just apply pressure and necessitate the Defiant being on the cart at all times now. Charong low, very low, taking some big hits and Happy's able to finish the job with a railgun. That's not a great start to this fight there. Hisi took a full slash from Kevser as he came in with a swift strike, and Hotbar is down. Yep, this one is over, ladies and gentlemen. The Defiant get forced back, tail between legs, and the Gladiators, they even up the series.
Just really bad defense from the Defiant. Really separates these two teams, right? The Defiant, they're able to complete the map. What the Gladiators just did it so fast and minimal to no resistance. Able to do it on their first offensive attack and then an OT to tie it up.
Big series from Happy so far and a winning map for him finally. 14 final blows, 4 deaths for the Sojourn here in the Los Angeles Gladiators side. Really overshadowing Hisu and, in fact, the rest of his compatriots there. Nice performance from Happy and the Glads that sets them on even footing now, heading into map 3. Well, perhaps the Gladiators just needed a little bit of time to warm up in this series. It was a slow start for them on Ilios, but as we headed to Midtown, it became increasingly apparent that they actually are able to find some level of comfort in this metagame, and a lot of it has to be attributed to Happy Matthew on the Sojourn, delivering a lot of big moments, allowing the Glads to take Midtown away.
Yeah, and that was a map that we saw the Defiant win the other day against Dallas. They were able to play the composition we just saw and have success. Not the same thing here, though, against the Gladiators. As the Gladiators, it shows a little bit of life, right? After battling back, it was a tough map one. See everybody all smiles over there, right? Kevster. Can they take this next map? Dorado, long sightlines. Think it could be good for the Ash. They just were able to beat, the Toronto Defiant with that composition running the Sojourn. I think Happy kind of cut from the same cloth, so to speak, as like Kai, right? In terms of like when he gets going, he's like one of the best aimers in the league. Can he continue that really standout play?
Yeah, look, I think, when you're operating at the level that Happy is, it makes the Sojourn look like a vastly better pick. Yes, you may not have that sort of overall consistency of those medium to long ranges as Ash provides you, because obviously a lot of the time you're using projectile-based damage as Sojourn when you're charging up that rail, but, no one's going to remember what Ash does on this map if the enemy Sojourn is hitting those rails consistently. So, yeah, defensively, obviously, some good chances for Ash to get value where she can't be pressured easily. Obviously, that's where she's her weakest, whereas Sojourn can obviously slide away a bit easier. The Glads on defense, obviously, no surprises to see their composition here. And the Defiant, we know they're kind of sold out for this Ash look, so I am curious to see how Hisu, someone previously touted for being an incredible Sojourn player, would make the Ash work effectively here.
Yeah, and the Sojourn even up close, right? Like you mentioned, like when getting pressured, the ability to put down some damage with the primary fire and then just fire off like a one-shot almost railgun shot. So difficult to counter as TP up to the high ground here for the Defiant. Try and take this type of position, and then what? They can have one person move the cart, or is everybody over here now? Yeah, no, I got all though on the cart. Yeah.
And this gives you the option to wrap that right-hand side and try and, move up the stairs, take a close quarters engagement on that overpass. The Reiner here is going to play close to the cart, so Hopper will need help. And Reiner just going to step forward, contest, and make it hard for the Toronto players on this high ground to get good sight lines. It's really hard to snipe Hisu here, because he's got the natural protection of the sort of those eaves of the rooftop. He drops down, though.
I mean, he also can't see anything, though. Like, there wasn't a great sight line there for him, as Happy gets quite low. Not able to finish off Happy, but skewed falls.
Happy able to get away, but again, where's that healing? I mean, all you have is Funny Astro's low healing over time. So the Gladiators need to back away, and they need to get health packs, whatever they can. Notice that Happy's just sort of sat there at low health, and that's pretty dangerous against a Nash comp. You're insta-dead to a headshot in that case. Finally, he's topped up, but look at all the ground the Glads just had to cede.
They're going to come back and fight it, though, strong. You see Kevster just putting down free damage here on Hoppa. Get right in all those space. That's
timing was just uncanny. That was uncanny timing. He knew that after the deflate for Although will be done, he would go for a right click. Kevster's probably played in that situation like hundreds and hundreds of times by now. It looks so natural for him, and what a way to completely gut punch Although and the rest of the Defiant.
So they'll wrap around here. Gladiators now going to play here at this choke. It's
so low.
It's going to be, yeah, it's way harder now to get Hisu in position. You see right there, just in the middle of the street, low. Nothing they were going to be able to do to keep him up.
So again, if you play here as the Glads, like on the stairwell or close up on this corner like Kevster is, it's probably a little bit hard for Hisu to find good sight lines. Where you play from like the low ground or hope you can get a high ground position at some point. It's awkward for the Defiant now.
And just to like remind people, this series is so important for Toronto to be able to potentially qualify for the Summer Showdown. And the Gladiators, like, they win that last map. And they looked really good on offense, but it hasn't exactly, taking map one into consideration, hasn't exactly been, incredibly smooth sailing for the Gladiators this far. Like, for a team that's this good, this is probably your best opportunity to win a game like this.
Great beat timing there from Funny Astro. Although has one as well, so we can play a bit more aggressively here, but he won't find much with the blade. Another deflect there from Kevster on Hisu, and Although follows soon after. Just the finer points of the Genji mechanics here, really carrying Kevster and the Gladiators to victory in those last couple of fights. Fantastic looks.
Kevster is, he's just so good that it's almost, I think the entire league has become numb to it, right? Where we talk so much about, really, I feel like Proper and all these other like DPS players and, you know, Profit, right? Like Kevster has been unreal in every role that they put him on. Not like, it didn't take a while for that to happen. Like since like day one, like he has been, like it's almost like hard to even think of like when the last time you saw like Kevster have like a bad game, so to speak, right? Like just so consistent game in and game out. It's crazy to watch.
I feel hot, but how the heck do you get a good rampage here?
You hope.
You become a man of faith.
Yeah.
Chorong taken down, Reiner gets too close and the knife seals the deal. Reiner, hit the swing there. He's lost Skewed and Kevster. Bob, look at the value from Bob. Pretty impressive stuff here, but it's going to take more than that for Hotbar to get out of this one in one piece.
It's a brutal spot to use that rampage from, because the Gladiators, they can play around all these, you know, line of sights here around this, you know, pillar around the statue. You have kind of like the carts there. It's difficult to really get a great like line of sight, like just run through with the rampage, and they don't really get much for it. They don't do anything here on offenses. It's starting to swing heavy in favor of the Glads.
Oh, I think that's a fair point. Indeed. There were moments, right, where the Toronto Defiant looked like they're in a real position of threat, and they even find a first pick. And then we're on board with Kevster, and he just, you know, casually deflects a ton of damage, finds a kill, and then a second. Again, the Defiant, you know, we have one really big fight in that round, right, where both teams use both of those support ultimates. The big difference maker is that Kevster's blade is out, and that sound barrier has already sort of decayed for the Defiant. So Kevster holds onto the blade a little bit longer because he knows he has Funny Astro's protection. He pops barrier first because that's, although starting off the fight there. And then it's kind of hard, right, to get value of your Hisu outside of the Bob, which I guess in like a low throughput of healing meta is pretty insane, right? Normally you don't worry too much about Bob because your Ana's just like plugging you with heals and you just like get out of the way.
You just sleep. You just sleep the Ana. Right. You just sleep the Bob. Yeah.
You can't do that here when you don't have Ana. So that's just, you know, another, you know, tick in the right column for bringing Ash into these fights. If you can get that Bob online, it's a huge difference maker. But it just wasn't quite enough there.
I would say not quite enough is fairly accurate, Mitch. They did not get point A. I mean, this is like the scary part here. I feel like for the Defiant is, I think you have like one fight in like a realistic sense where like one fight in which Hisu is going to have like the best effective range he possibly can. If you lose this fight and you get into a brawl scenario where the payload ultimately ended up, I don't know if you're going to generate the value out of it.
Hisu's not in a good spot here. I mean, yes, these teams are swap places, but that just disadvantages the team with the Ash player. I'd be a little scared if you know, Hisu just cannot get enough breathing room here. Happy though being down is a pretty big deal. But again, who comes out to spawn? It's the Gladiators here, so this needs to be a clean win for the Defiant.
Yeah.
Hey, not bad so far.
Yeah, and I think they want to play a little bit more defensive with this Ash, right? Like, if the Gladiators are going to use their Shout and their, you know, Lucio to engage, maybe you want to, like, back up, use the Dynamite almost in the way you'd use, like, the Disruptor Shot, right? Disruptor Shot, it's not as, like, you know, big and damaging as the Dynamite, but it's the same type of effect.
Well, the entirety of that commanding shout got eaten up by just the damage from Hisu's Dynamite connecting. So now he's in that safe spot, right? The Glads aren't really inclined to switch back to the Symmetra to get good positioning here. So now, this is where Hisu, like you were talking about, Matt, gets to play, gets to have that fight at his optimal range. And he might get more than one, the way things are going.
What an absolutely bizarre series this would be if the Defiant were able to hold here.
Yeah,
like nothing we've seen would have made any sense. Like no like pattern between maps or anything. It's just all over the place. Just look at this. I mean, you get this Bob. They can't come out here on the cart. That's going to be a rally from spawn now from the Glads.
Blade?
He's got like 50 HP. He's blading.
This could go. Chorong holds on to the beat here. That is huge. The Defiant are playing very well here, and the Gladiators are getting a little frustrated trying to break through this hole. Here's a late beat from Chorong, and see what a difference maker that is. Kevster just gets flattened.
Toronto spawn camping the Gladiators. They are rolling right now. And look at this. I mean, Hoppa already at the Rampage. Talk about good spots to use a Rampage. The last time, Hoppa didn't have a great angle to it. I mean, right here, straight down the middle towards that spawn.
Yep. Into down mid, Matt. 3 players connected with there, and Kevster is down. Yep. Hoppa's
nice
kicking
axe.
damage, gonna pick him up.
Yeah, I mean, tried to like angle the axe in a way as well to maybe like catch him as he's going by. It's that Rampage taking damage that eventually falls.
It's just really how this map is gonna go.
This is such a bizarre series. Well, okay, so the Gladiators have a big advantage here, right? Overclock in Blade with Rampage and nothing available for the Defiant. If the Gladiators beat this, then you get real scared.
Kevster low and doesn't have a chance to Blade there, and Happy can't find anything either. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, obviously ultimate advantage there for the Gladiators, but Dorado have such a sick positioning, right? Playing this high ground. We've seen like different metas with different spawn camp strategies on this part of the map from defenders, right? But this one looks like the most oppressive though.
Dude, the Defiant are dominating right now at the spawn of the Gladiators. Is really impressive. A Happy gets hit with a knife to almost gets dragged into harm's way. I even think you're a fan of this if you're the Defiant. If they use like Blade and Rampage and win the fight, maybe you get the rally out too. Like,
you can still lose the map from here if you're the Defiant, obviously. The margin's very slim. Here's the Rampage. Just hold
only gets hard.
They're gonna find that kill still. Getting a complete kill here. Definitely better than just applying that Rampage to a few players here. But the Defiant are giving.
Do they rally?
Yeah,
yeah, they rally. They're still in this.
Down. There's a Blade here for Kevster. Doesn't feel good to use it right now, though, but what other opportunity are you going to have? It's now or never, Kev. Give it some thought. Here's the Blade, and here we go. Although pull these one out as well, and there it is. Kevster's going to go down.
What?
Oh, okay, man.
What a map.
Absolutely silences the Gladiators there as they look to just be trotting out to win the map. They might have even have had time for a victory lap of this this Dorado map, and yet the Defiant come up with something they weren't expecting. That is a brutal spawn camp to fight your way out of.
You see, Gladiators, everybody stands up, walks away instantly to Defiant. They a little bit of smiles on their face before they go for this break, and oh, that is a brutal loss for the Gladiators. I'm really interested to see if they can regain after this type of loss.
Yeah, this series very much hangs in the balance now as the Defiant once again take the initiative. Heading into map number 4, it's all up in the air. Who will you choose, ladies and gentlemen, the Defiant or the Glad? Stick around for map number 4. One of the best defensive efforts we've seen all season, I want to suggest, is what carries the Defiant into map, or match point, I guess, position after that showing on Dorado, Matt. We've seen spawn camps, so we've seen like close defenses on this map tons of times before, like the Winston setup, and that's why teams use that symmetry to get around it. But the Gladiators, even with the Sim TP to try and circumvent the setup, couldn't break it.
Yeah, and the Gladiators came into that map. They were feeling great, all smiles. You see that is not the case right now. That is a bit puzzling. I mean, look, you're a team of this caliber. You don't expect to ever be spawn camped by anybody. But the Defiant did it for the entire defense there on Dorado. I mean, the furthest you got the cart was like around the corner. It's probably, you know, just kind of like a context, probably like a performance right there from like the Defiant. Like, you know, you may not see a team do that to the Gladiators like again. Like in the grand scheme of like these players' careers, like it's probably the only time that's happened. Toronto really brought it on that map.
Matt, let's talk about the landscape of this Summer Showdown qualifier here. Things are kind of getting turned on their heads in a big way. In terms of our results and in terms of our team standings. Now, okay, the usual suspects up there, Shock and Fuel. Then we have Justice, Titans, then the Spitfire, then the Defiant, the Rain and Outlaws, and the Gladiators right now are 12th in this stage.
In the Outlaws, like they're in 8th, but they're not exactly like home free, right? I mean,
far from
New York and in Florida, like they're right within striking distance. Even the Boston Uprising, right? I think the Boston Uprising actually play the Defiant, whether their next game or I think they play Boston after this, and then I think they play London. So 2 really important games. And then my hometown, my Vancouver Titans, they're locking it down.
West Canada, turn up.
Yeah, West Canada. They've been looking great thus far. Really odd, like the standings there though. I think it also shows like the Gladiators lose this. You're like looking at like, you know, bottom 2, 3 right now in the Summer Showdown. That is tough.
I mean, and you kind of talked about it before. Like, this is a team that's managed to accrue like a ton of league points through play so far this season. And realistically, they're probably still in a great spot when playoffs come around in terms of their overall standings here. But you do not want to be, you know, taking your team into a stage like this and suffering such mental attrition as he's sort of playing this Junker Goats composition and then losing the teams you otherwise have on the ropes any given day in any other meta. It don't feel good.
It does not. You do need a little bit of like adversity though, right? To like power through. Like, you know, the Gladiators just making every tournament, you know, running the finish line there for each one. Doesn't exactly like set them up for when inevitably, like it happens every team within every season, like you're gonna have these tough stretches and like how to bounce back from that, right? I think obviously you'd like to see this series of matches go a different way, right? But you're fortunate you didn't like start the season off on this, or you know, last tournament, right? And you didn't get a ton of league points like in mid-season madness. Like, you know, you have to look at it from the Gladiators' perspective, like, hey, we're pretty fortunate. Like, we built a buffer. We've run into something that, you know, maybe we're not grasping at the same level we fully expect to be grasping things at this level. But you look at it like, hey, you know, we've added Happy to this team. We still got Patty. We got Ons. We got Shu, who, you know, maybe this isn't a great meta for him because you had, like, a lot of Brig Lucio. Like, no,
unless you're, like, Florida or New York and you're trying to play the double flex support still, don't know.
Right. Like, but like things could like flip on a dime, right? You know, balance comes through, kind of something new arises. You can play some different things. You're still right back in the mix. I just think, at the end of the day, you just have too much talent to, and I think the coaching staff is fantastic as well. You just have too much to just not eventually figure it out, right? You just can't let the panic set in. I think that's the big key.
Great focus on Hotbar there. I think we went through 2 rotations of commanding shouts there, Matthew, so a very long neutral fight. But eventually the Gladiators are able to just to get enough attrition on Hotbar to bring him down, and with him gone, the Toronto Defiant have not a snowball's chance in hell of winning that fight, so they have to give up a lot of ground here, and these are long fights. These are hard-won meters that the Gladiators are starting to stack up.
So we'll see if Toronto can get back into the mix. Trying to Trying to close this series out on home turf. Hoppa just sitting in the corner. Yeah, ooh.
Okay, so they shout forward here. Reiner's going to get healed up. It looks like he got a repair pack there. They shout at the same time as He2 is running the opposite direction back to a health pack by the looks of things there. So the Defiant didn't really have all their guns to bear in that last fight, but although catches Kevster from that high ground.
And something we didn't talk about, Hisu on the Sojourn here at the start of Toronto. So, as we say,
not bad.
Lands a headshot on the heavy. Oh, they end up using the rally here as Reiner dies as well. So, you're going to be able to hold on to your rally here if you're the Defiant, and I think this could be a big opportunity for you. But I think the Sojourn here, it's almost a must. I do not think the Ashe, like, I think you can get away with Ashe on, you know, a good chunk of the maps in the pool. This one with just so much close quarters, like, frenetic play, you would just get dove. You get run down.
The better you do on this map, the less high ground you have available to you as well. You really only have natural high ground access if you're losing. You're either on the other side of this area, right, where you can play inside like the gym and the ramen shop or whatever. But if you're doing well, Ashe gets less and less effective here. Great deflect there, and Happy is, although knows better than to try and swing the blade at a Sojourn, threatening a big rail. And the Gladiators are starting to get exposed. Some of that sort of weakness in sort of cohesion now really getting laid bare.
Yeah, I mean, not having a rally there is huge for the Defiant. Really gives him a big advantage. Also, Hotba earns his Rampage during that fight, doesn't use it, but just gives you an idea of, like, you know, he ends up being the first pick in that first fight and dies really early and doesn't have an opportunity to build anything, but still ends up getting it faster than Reiner. So Hotba really is playing that Jungle Queen pretty effectively, especially you know, now with the Sojourn in the mix, but really the whole series not in the optimal setup.
Yeah, long lanes here, and you can see Hopper was hoping to line up probably a bigger Rampage than that one. He's hoping to pressure Reiner down, who actually just rampages at Hisu and Hopper respectively. Two players who aren't really suffering any scrutiny from anybody else. Very much a solo effort there from Reiner. Looks pretty bad.
Yeah, he's kind of out in no man's land alone there.
Where's the rest of his team? Yeah.
Yeah, kind of gets split off a little bit. You know, using the Rampage, just gets around the corner where we'll see. This will be a difficult spot for any team to break in this type of position where, yeah, you see the Defiant, they kind of almost want to have the Gladiators bring the fight to them.
Well, they're not incentivized to push around this corner, I think, at the moment. That's just a fact of the matter. Gets his blade, though. One that, although, cannot answer. Yeah, pretty solid stuff there. Hotbar and Hisu both fall. The Gladiators, again, relying on this superstar to put themselves back on even footing. If they can even get there, they're still behind by a good 20 meters plus.
Yeah, Charong delays the bot moving forward and getting back in hands of the Gladiators for a little bit there towards the end. Huge fight coming up, though. Double support ults for both teams. You see, if you see all they use in this fight, the Gladiators come out on top. They may end up like doubling the amount of push that the Defiant have with how impactful that would be.
Because they've already got the bot, they're already in an advantageous position here. Back within 10 meters of the total of the Defiant. Now the team wants to go first, especially with this sound barrier. It's going to be the rally from Skewed, though, as the Gladiators don't want to give up any of this progress. Chorong responds with the sound barrier instead, and both Lucios going for those ultimates, but Hisu finds a key headshot on Funny Astro. Even with the sound barrier in play, it's not enough to keep him alive. And now Hisu wants to get a bit more aggressive. It makes you wonder why he plays anything else when he can do things like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I believe they just really do think that the Ashe is better in certain situations and certain maps than the Sojourn, and maybe in the long run it will be. We just really don't know. I mean, obviously we've seen this in Contenders a bit, this composition. We've seen it in Owl now, but a lot of times, even like with Ghost, right, there wasn't like a ton of experimentation outside of it. As although it goes in, nice dash and a blade.
Yeah, he had Happy at half HP before that blade even came out, Matthew. Goes pretty deep for it, though. No butt scratch acquired as of yet, though, for the Defiant. They're going to have to dig a little further for that one. I mean, fortunate placement of that light pole there is, looks like Funny Astro is actually able to prevent himself from being drawn into the warm embrace of the enemy Jungle Queen. And Kevster again comes alive in the same part of the map as last time. And we're back to parity once more.
Yeah, we'll start running the other way. Hisu will have an overclock to match Happy's. No blade, but you do have a Rampage here, so now you're looking at, for Defiant, can Hoppa get great value out of this Rampage? Maybe Hisu hits a few shots with the overclock. Opportunity for Kevster to get a big blade. No support ults on the other side.
Yeah, chances like that, Matt, for Kevster aren't going to come too frequently in this kind of series. 3 players hit with the Rampage, and Kevster can't get the blade out. Eventually, he'll bleed out after Hopper's ministrations. And the rest of the Gladiators do not fare much better at all. So, as the pendulum swings, Perpetual Newton's cradle sees this bot head back to the middle of the map.
Pretty big fight, though. You don't have to use your overclock. I think connecting on Kevster and getting him out of the way first is huge because let's say now you come back into this fight and Kevster has to use his blade, or maybe, you know, Reiner uses Rampage. You may have a little bit of an advantage coming into this next fight if you're the Defiant and still hold serve on defense.
Hisu tries to pressure, but Kevster closes the gap and then finds the blade. It puts him in striking distance of Twilight. For the 3rd time in a row, Kevster saves his team from giving up this key checkpoint here. 2 minutes, 54 seconds left. Remember, it's a must-win map for the Gladiators here if they want to, I don't know, not go 0-4 in the Summer Showdown qualifiers.
Yeah, and I think if you're the Defiant, you just need to stall this out on the bot for as long as possible until you end up building up these support ultimates. It's going to be the big difference here. So Reiner, potentially also with the Rampage, like, can you land a big one, right? Seal the deal. Get over the line.
Shut
here.
down a rally.
Scratch would be pretty massive, yeah.
The shots thrown out from everybody. The rally comes out from Skewed, and that's a beat from Chorong now. Reiner holds onto this Rampage. Time to fire it off, though. Gets a good connection despite the boot coming in, and Hopper's going to get brought down. Rally is useless here for Twilight. Maybe later in the fight it might be worth something, but the Gladiators are threatening this checkpoint here, man. They got it. They get that first. They get the butt scratch here, and they'll be happy with a result like this, especially coming into a crucial part of the map. 2 minutes remain.
Yeah, you'll be able to get the bot going the other way with 2 minutes to go. Now, what is that? I know a meter and change being the difference. The biggest thing, though, is that when the Defiant get there, if they match this, they're going to get the butt scratch. So it's going to be a little bit of a pause for them to keep it moving yet again.
Although, good early damage here. Blade comes out, he's hoping to finish the job. Gets hit real hard, though, as he tries to approach Hotba. Both Junker Queens are down now. Kevster just trying to clear the area around the bot if at all possible. Make sure Toronto can't keep moving it back their way. And that's the Gladiators there, winning another key fight. This is getting a little scary for Toronto now. Map 5 is looming large.
Hisu and Twilight. Twilight's gone. Hisu with a kill on a funny edge. Okay. For a second there. I think you still had Skewed in the mix, but they're not going to be able to get much progress. So, yeah, the Defiant should be able to just... It's going to be basically Kevster bringing this bot as far along as he can. Yep, then running away. So, putting it as far into the Defiant territory as they can. The Defiant, you're looking at two... You got to basically win 2 fights in a row. That's kind of what we're looking at here for the Defiant.
I have to win the first one with nothing but an overclock here. Gladiators have that higher ground control. Can you hear Happy and Isu going at it from long range? It's an overclock, and that's Kevster felled already. Less pressure coming Hisu's way now. He can focus the rest of these rail guns, on the enemy Junker Queen. So, pick the first box, Matthew. First of 2 consecutive team fights won by the Defiant here. 20 seconds left.
And the best part, I think, for the Defiant is you win that fight clean. You don't have anybody drop, so you're not going to have any period of time where you're going to be playing at a disadvantage in terms of players.
You have Rampage too.
Yep, Rampage double support ult here. A perfect opportunity for the Defiant to take this.
Hopper lets it go straight away. What a Rampage on the 3 in the rally from Skewed. Doesn't quite hit the mark. Both DPS from the Gladiators are down, and we get the butt scratch here. We are even Stevens now, and the Defiant still have 5 players to work with. They are well ahead in this fight with that sound barrier now expiring. With the damage, the damage has already been done. Desperate attempts to contest here for Reiner and Skewed, but it's unlikely to be enough as Hopper tries to peel back a little bit. Kevster's Blade's going to find the elimination on Twilight, but it is not enough. He eventually is forced to succumb now as Happy slides forward, trying to play Limbo, not Overwatch, I guess. And that's going to be it. The Toronto Defiant get the job done, and the Gladiators getting served up a fat L.
Oh, that is a huge win there for the Defiant in terms of them being able to qualify for their tournament at the Summer Showdown. And the Gladiators, man, just the last 2 maps, getting spawn killed pretty much on Dorado. And then right there, we were talking about it, like the first fight and the nature in which they won it was probably the most important factor there for the Defiant. Winning that fight without dropping any players, minimal ultimate investment. And I like the idea that Hotba ends up engaging it the first part of that last fight with the Rampage, right? take those support ultimates, really like kind of try and pull them a little bit more out of the equation there, and being able to pick up some kills early definitely does that.
This win has got to mean so much for the Defiant, the team and the franchise, because of course there's concerns about being a team that is unable to qualify for your own event, right? Not something you want to have happen, and a win here makes it much harder for anyone to unseat the Defiant from that prospect, from that possibility. Things are looking rosy, at least in the near future for this team, as they make a mid to late season run back. Now they're 9-7 in terms of that win-loss. The Gladiators, by the way, fall to 10-6. So these two teams, the gap between them closes significantly after the victory here for Toronto. And I've got to say, Matt, great stuff from the Defiant overall. Thought Hopper had an excellent series. Chorong looks fantastic, especially when environmental kills are involved. But your player of the match here, this is a Matthew Morello selection. Make no mistake, it's going to be Although on the Genji.
Yeah, I thought his Genji was really strong all series long. I think it's also a little bit harder for him to play this Genji when they're running the Ashe, right? You don't have like another damage dealer who's going to get into the, backline, into the mix, into that brawl. Like a Sojourn, your other damage dealer playing from a distance, a playstyle that a lot of other Genjis don't really have to even learn or play around, because Toronto's one of the only teams that are doing it. And I thought he was great. You got good use of his blade. It felt like, when he had players weak and was able to get in, finish them off, get out with his life, he was able to do so pretty successfully. And
crucially, although with such a great performance in this game, has almost single-handedly boomed Johnny. I mean, with the help of Jack, Johnny is absolutely going to be boomed after this, because, Jack sat on the couch there. He makes the prediction, right? He actually said a 3-0, I think, for Toronto, so not quite accurate there, but makes the correct pred. And although, obviously, this is relevant, and this is a significant result for him, because he's going up against Kevster. He's going up against Happy. If you want to look at a DPS comparison, a head-to-head, it's not really one that you actually would, favor Although in on the face of it. But he comes out this series having to really grind a lot of those maps, but looks fantastic. And I mean, the Defiant as a franchise have to be thrilled with a result like this. It's such an important game of the season.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the roster, and there's just a lot of players that we've seen have success in the past on different teams. On this Defiant team, you kind of think you put them together, you'd find some of that. And it's weird because, like, you mentioned their record, and their record is quite good. Like, I don't think people kind of when people think of the Defiant or talk about the Defiant, they don't talk about them like with, I think, how they would talk about other teams if they have that record, if you understand what I'm talking about. Where, barring tournament success, this team has been pretty good all season long. Huge win here against the Gladiators, right? You have matches against, I think, Boston and London coming up. I think both of those are, winnable with the way you're looking for the Defiant. So
you might have a really nice seeding, Matthew.
Look, I mean, maybe we go into the Summer Showdown. This is going to sound crazy. Maybe we go with both Canadian teams in the top 4. It's a possibility.
Man, can you imagine? With East Canada versus West Canada. Ah, man. A matchup
in East Canada.
Oh, my God. Well, apologies to any Canadians we may have offended by these comparisons, but geographically, you have to admit they are correct.
I love Toronto. If you can make it to that event, go to the event, because the city's awesome. I've never been to Vancouver. Scott says Vancouver's all right, but maybe I'll make it over there.
I mean, again, I'm looking forward to being in Toronto, no doubt about it. I'm pretty sure they're sending it. Don't know yet. I mean, I'll let you know. I'm going to go anyway, to be honest. What did I get this visa for if not to be able to leave the US and travel to some fantastic countries? Hey, I don't want to delay this, because I need to see I need to see the expression on Johnny's face as we head to the...
Yeah, I got to see how much Johnny's mauling.
Oh, God, please give it to me. And Johnny, don't hold back, man. Let him know. Jack, you know what to do. Never in any doubt, my boy. Love to see it. We're going to head over to the desk after this for some post-match interview and hear our experts' thoughts on how this weekend of matches, and especially this one, has gone.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Upper Deck, the official trading card of the Overwatch League. And by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
Welcome to the Watchpoint Post Show, everybody. I'm here with Aldo from Toronto Defiant. Aldo, what a crazy match. I'm gonna be honest, I think a lot of people predicted the Los Angeles Gladiators to win. You guys were definitely the underdogs, but you guys clutched out the win today against the Gladiators. Tell me in detail, like, how did you guys get this done? 자, 첫 번째 질문 오늘 승리 축하드리면서 솔직히 말씀드려서 제가 봤을 때 많은 분들이 글래디의 승리를 예상하지 않았나 싶은데 그 모든 걸 다 깨고 오늘 토론토가 너무나도 좋은 모습을 보여준 것 같습니다. 오늘 승리 어떻게 해서 얻으시게 되셨나요?
아무래도 저희는 되게 자신이 있었고 그래서 그거를 저희가 준비한 것들이 다 쟁탈전 첫 맵에서 보여드렸다 생각했는데 그 두 번째 라운드 미드타운 때부터 저희가 이제 살짝 말리면서 그 좀 분위기가 좀 다운됐었는데 저희 코치 감독님들께서 되게 다독여 주시고 좋은 피드백을 해주셔서 그거를 통해서 저희가 이기게 된 것 같아요.
All right. Going into today's match, I mean, we were pretty confident. We felt good going into the match against Gladiators. So I think all of the things that we prepped, all the strategies that we had in plan, we started to show successfully on today's match, starting from the control map that we won. However, going into the second map, which was Midtown, things sort of didn't go our way, and we started to sort of panic a little bit. We started to worry, but that's when our coaches and our coaching staff came in. They gave really good feedbacks. We listened to them, and then towards the end, that feedback really helped us out to clutch out the win against the Gladiators. I mean, honestly, I think Toronto Defiant right now, you guys are looking really clean. I mean, not only this match, but even previously, you guys have improved so much. So I want to ask you, although, do you believe because this stage's tournament is in Toronto, has that like sort of motivated your team to play better? 자, 두 번째 질문은 이번 스테이지에 들어와서 이제 토론토가 조금 더 훨씬 더 좋은 모습을 많이 보여줬다고 생각을 해요. 얼도 선수가 보시기에 아무래도 이번 토너먼트가 또 이제 홈구장인 토론토에서 경기들이 펼쳐지기 때문에 좀 그거에 좀 어떻게 되면 이제 선수들에게 좀 더 동기부여가 됐다고 생각을 하시나요?
네, 저희가 팬분들을 직접 만났었는데 그때부터 이제 저희가 살짝 엄청난 사명감 이런 걸 가지게 되면서 되게 열심히 했던 것 같고 그리고 이제 저희 메타가 저희와 좀 잘 맞는 메타라 생각해서 그래서 되게 좋은 성적을 낸 것 같아요.
All right. Yes, I definitely think that we were definitely more motivated, especially because we had a chance to meet our fans face to face. So we sort of had this feeling that we had to prove ourselves, or show, or sort of perform better for our fans. And not only that, I think the current meta right now really suits our playstyle, and that is also helping us get more wins in this stage as well. All right, last but not least, although I know before we went in, you told me specifically that you had some message for the Los Angeles Gladiators. So please tell us what you have to say to the Gladiators. 자, 마지막으로 이제 알도 선수가 오늘 이제 인터뷰 시작하기 전에 글래디에게 좀 한 말씀을 하시고 싶으시다고 말씀을 하셔서 네, 한 말씀 해주시길 바라겠습니다.
In this summer showdown, goodbye Gladiators.
Alright, everybody, that is it for the interview. Although, thank you so much. 감사드리고 인터뷰 마치도록 하겠습니다. That is it for the interview. Thank you so much, Aldo. Bye bye.
Bye.
Let's go!
Let's go, Aldo, yeah.
I can't believe you said that. That is savage.
On the first time their franchise has ever beaten the Gladiators, they're like, we're running this one to the bank. Goodbye.
we never might get this chance ever again. Just do it right now. Go ham.
What a
Oh my god, that's such like a... Like if you're a guy who's you're balding, you're just like, it's just a regular season man! Wow, that's brutal. You gotta be happy for Toronto Defiant. Jaws, you predicted it completely as the plan.
Yeah.
They look dominant throughout the entire
brain.
series.
It was
all
big
the
brain.
way.
It wasn't 3-0, but it was 3-1, baby.
I mean, they could have won that with Midtown.
No, yeah, it could have been. It could have been. Toronto, 사랑해. Easy. I love you, Toronto. It's too easy. being this genius. I'm not gonna lie. It's good to have me on the desk.
It's the
you know?
glasses!
No,
It's the
no, don't take it away from me. Don't take it away from me. Hey, give me my pal.
So let's talk about the match,
Script's
of
in
course.
there.
I know. We're behind the lenses.
The LA Gladiators 0-4 in the Summer Showdown qualifiers.
Unlucky.
So, okay, look, it sucks. You're 0-4, but still, they're back-to-back stage champions. You can't be too hard on the franchise. Metas come and go. This clearly wasn't suited for you, and they'll recover and maybe get better for the Countdown Cup and get some more regular season wins. But let's just start with Toronto Defiant. I mean, this is a massive win for that franchise. We talked about how it's going to be the Toronto Defiant homestand for this stage playoffs. What really propelled them for this 3-1 victory against the Gladiators?
It's 100% the way that they're playing the meta. And Johnny, I saw you tweet about this when it happened.